So, Larry Bird was a great trash talker.
Larry Bird, to me, it was so much fun playing against him because he talked so much.
You know, and he would do it like a ventriloquist because you couldn't see his mouth move.
Most trash talkers in the league tried to grab attention with loud voices and constant chatter. Larry Bird was different. He did not waste words or energy trying to look tough. He waited. He studied the floor like a chess player studying a board. He watched the defense, the spacing, the hesitation in a defender's stance. Then, when the moment was perfect, he said something simple and direct. The way he spoke was almost unsettling. No yelling, no wild gestures, just a calm voice and a flat tone that sounded like someone stating a fact. That was the part that really messed with people. Bird would look at the defender right in front of him and casually explain exactly what was about to happen. He would say the play, he would say the spot on the court. Sometimes he even told them which hand he was about to use. And the crazy part? He did not say it like a threat. He said it like someone describing tomorrow's weather. Then the ball would get inbounded, the play would start, and Bird would walk to that exact spot on the floor. No panic, no hurry, just smooth movement, perfect timing, and total control. A quick step, a clean release, and the ball would drop through the net exactly the way he said it would.
It's Larry. If he wants the ball, he wants the ball. After the timeout, we walked back on the court, and then Xavier was guarding. So he tells Xavier, he says, I'm getting the ball.
I said, I know, I'm gonna be waiting. And he said, I'm gonna get it right here. I'm gonna shoot it right in your face.
10 seconds. 5, and Bird has the basketball. Look out. Larry Bird, just phenomenal the way that
he came out with about that exact spot and shot a shot right in my face. And, you know, he was like, I didn't mean to leave 2 seconds on the clock. He wanted to shoot it with 0 seconds on the clock. I walked back to the sideline like, damn.
Probably the best NBA moment was Larry Bird, same guy, same era. He walked in and kind of stretched in front of our bench one day before our game started. He says, I'm feeling like 41 tonight. And I'm looking around. I said, nobody's popping out. Nobody's saying anything back. I said, well, this is weird. And he scored his 41st point to start the 4th quarter and checked himself out with a 20-point victory. And that was game over. So these guys can back it up.
Xavier wasn't soft, man. And Larry wasn't either, man. Larry said, man, I'm going to give it to you any way I want to. One dribble.
That pattern started to wear people down. Not just physically, but mentally. Defenders were not just guarding a scorer anymore. They were guarding someone who seemed to know the future. NBA legends who faced him still talk about it to this day. They do not remember wild insults or angry shouting. What they remember is the feeling that whatever Bird said was about to happen was already decided. It felt inevitable. Bird had done it so many times that everyone on the floor understood the situation. The crowd knew, the teammates knew, and the poor guy standing in front of him trying to defend the play definitely knew. When Bird pointed to a spot on the court, it felt like the game itself had already agreed with him. That smooth confidence separated him from every other trash talker in the league. He never begged for attention. He never tried to start chaos. He did not need any of that. The scoreboard spoke for him. One sentence, one possession, another bucket. That is why players still bring his name up decades later. Not because he was the loudest voice on the court, not because he was the meanest guy in the league. They remember him because he was surgical with everything he did. Every word had a purpose. Every movement had intent. And when Larry Bird spoke, everyone in the building knew exactly where the ball was going. And somehow, they still could not stop it. First up is Xavier McDaniel, one of the toughest defenders of his era. Physical, proud, and never scared of anyone. But even that confidence was about to get tested in one of the coldest moments Larry Bird ever delivered. Late game, tight score, the kind of moment where every player in the arena knows exactly what is about to happen. The crowd can feel it. The benches can feel it. Even the defenders know the ball is about to find one man. Larry Bird looked straight at Xavier McDaniel and calmly told him what was coming. No bluff, no anger, no dramatic speech, just a quiet explanation delivered like simple facts. Bird told him the move he would use. He told him where the shot would come from. He even explained where McDaniel would be standing when the ball went through the net. McDaniel did not laugh. He did not back away. That was not his personality. He stayed locked in, lowered his stance, raised his hand, and prepared for the challenge like a proud defender should. McDaniel was known for toughness, for playing physical, for never letting anyone push him around. But this time, none of it mattered. Bird caught the ball and sized him up. One quick look, one smooth motion. He rose into the jumper exactly where he said he would. Same spot, same calm release, same result. Splash! Game over!
He was non-discriminatory in regards to who got.
Wait, what would he say to you? You're one of the nicest guys on the planet. What could
Well, I didn't get the brunt of it, as I've heard over the years. You know, get your hands off of me. It's gonna be a long night. You know, that kind of stuff. You can't guard me. You know, and he would do it like a ventriloquist because you couldn't see his mouth move.
What kind of stuff did Bird say?
Oh, he taught us a lot. I remember a couple times he drove to the hole and I tried to jump and try to block the shot. You know, like, you better sit down, boy. You you're gonna pop your arm out of socket before you get this. Or before I got there, there was a big thing between he and Bernard King.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the guys telling me that he used to run by the bench telling, Hubie Brown was the coach. Hubie, you better get Bernard off me. I'm liable to get 60 tonight. You better put somebody else on me. Just, things like that.
That moment stayed with McDaniel for years, not because of the loss, but because of the certainty. Bird did not talk to scare people. He talked like someone confirming what had already been decided. To him, the ending was already written. Everyone else on the court was simply watching it unfold. John Stockton, one of the greatest point guards the NBA has ever seen, had his own unforgettable moment with Bird. But back then, Stockton was just a young rookie, still learning the rhythm of the league. When he first faced Bird, something happened before the game even started that caught him completely off guard. During warm-ups, Bird casually drifted toward the Utah Jazz bench. No big scene, no crowd gathering around him. He was just stretching and moving around like it was any normal night. Then Bird quietly said something to Stockton. No edge in his voice, no performance for teammates or cameras. It sounded less like trash talk and more like someone calmly stating a plan. Stockton immediately took notice. He was always a careful observer of the game, and Bird was not the type of player who spoke randomly. When he said something, it usually meant he had already visualized exactly how things would play out. Still, words before tip-off do not decide a game. The court decides everything. That is exactly why the story stuck with Stockton. Bird did not speak to distract opponents. He spoke to declare intent. Then he trusted his game to prove every word correct. If anyone in the league understood the art of trash talk, it was Gary Payton. The man built an entire reputation on it. Possession after possession, he talked, challenged, and pushed opponents mentally. For Payton, words were part of the battle, and in his mind, nobody was immune. Until he faced Larry Bird. Bird did not play that game the same way. He did not trade lines. He did not escalate. He stayed calm the entire time. That quiet confidence forced Payton into unfamiliar territory. Suddenly, the usual back and forth was gone. Silence. Because when Bird started doing exactly what he said he would do, there was nothing left to argue about. Payton later explained why Bird was different from every other player who talked on the floor. You believed him. Not because he sounded threatening, not because he tried to dominate the moment. You believed him because he sounded completely certain. Flat tone, no emotion, no exaggeration. You would run back on defense thinking about what he just said, replaying it in your head, wondering if he actually meant it. Then seconds later, he would hit the shot exactly the way he described it. That was the part that got inside players' minds. Payton said Bird's trash talk worked on multiple levels. He spoke to the defender guarding him. He spoke to the bench. Sometimes he even spoke loud enough for the coaching staff to hear. Every word felt calculated. Every moment felt intentional. By that point, Payton understood something very important. When Larry Bird wanted to prove a point, nobody on the court was going to stop him. Clark Kellogg witnessed another side of it. His NBA career was shorter than many others because injuries forced him away from the game earlier than expected. But his timing was interesting. He played during the heart of Bird's prime years. That meant he saw firsthand how Bird's comments worked during real game action. Kellogg was not always the direct target of Bird's most famous lines, but that was never the point. What stayed with him were the smaller moments. The quiet comments Bird would slip out in the middle of a possession, short sentences, calm voice, almost observational. Sometimes someone would even ask Kellogg about it later. Well, wait, What would he say to you? You're one of the nicest guys on the planet. What could he say?
That's just my era. I grew up idolizing Larry Bird. It was funny, the first time that I played in my rookie year, I guarded Larry Bird, and it took me about 10 minutes to realize I should be probably guarding him instead of staring at him. You know? And he came down, it was funny, he came down one time, and Mark West was the center on our team, and Larry looked at me, and then he looked at Mark, and he said, Mark, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna come off the screen, I'm gonna catch it right there, I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna shoot it in the rookie's face, and then I'm gonna run down the floor. And that's exactly what.
Hands like 6'7", Notre Dame guy, white guy, really good defender, right?
Okay.
They put him on Larry, and Larry was wearing his ass out.
Absolutely.
And Larry would run by the bench and tell Doug Moe, who was the coach, get him off me. That's disrespectful. No, that's disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
He says, disrespectful for y'all to put a white guy on me.
Yeah.
Put a black guy on me.
Bird did not always try to embarrass people. He did not need to. Sometimes it was just one sentence during a live play. By the time a defender processed what he said, the shot was already falling through the net. Kellogg noticed something interesting about how veterans reacted to it. They did not explode in anger. They did not start shouting back. Instead, there was a brief moment of hesitation because Bird's words did not feel like insults. They felt like predictions that had already been tested many times before. That is what separated him from everyone else. He did not talk to overwhelm opponents. He talked to confirm what was about to happen. Then he stepped back and let the result do the talking. And Bird did not spare the big men either. Size did not impress him. Strength did not slow him down. Patrick Ewing was one of the most physical and aggressive centers of his generation. He was used to controlling the paint and challenging anyone who stepped near the rim. But when Bird stepped onto the floor, even the biggest defenders were about to learn that confidence alone was not enough. Patrick Ewing was known for setting the tone in the paint. Strong, physical, and relentless, he built his reputation by pushing opponents around and making them feel every possession. Most players who challenged him near the rim felt the pressure immediately. But Larry Bird approached the game differently. Ewing quickly noticed that Bird's trash talk was never random. It was deliberate, blunt, carefully timed. Bird would wait for the exact moment when the defense was most vulnerable. Then he would say something simple and direct before the play even unfolded. And once he said it, the rest usually followed. Shots started dropping, possessions started stacking up. The scoreboard slowly tilted in Bird's favor. The frustrating part for defenders was that they could often see it coming. They knew the spot, they knew the move, yet somehow the result stayed the same. What left the strongest impression on Ewing was Bird's demeanor. Calm, focused, completely unshaken. For a competitor like Ewing, who thrived on physical battles and emotional intensity, Bird's steadiness felt almost unsettling. It was not just about skill. It was the presence he carried on the floor. Bird never needed loud words or constant jabs. His confidence stayed quiet but unmistakable. Every possession reinforced the same message. Larry Bird was not simply playing the game. He was controlling it. Dan Mayerly learned that lesson early in his career. Coming into the league, Mayerly was known as a tough defender with a reliable shot. He rarely looked overwhelmed on the court. But guarding Bird introduced a completely different challenge. You could not relax for a single second, not even for a moment. Bird had an incredible ability to notice the smallest opening in the defense. One small step out of position, one tiny hesitation. That was all he needed. Sometimes he would even announce the shot before the play developed, calmly, casually, like he was explaining something obvious. Then the possession would unfold exactly the way he described. The shot would go up, the ball would drop through the net. For a young player like Mayerly, it was a brutal lesson in efficiency. Bird did not waste movements. He did not waste possessions. Everything he did on the court had purpose. The real danger was not just the points he scored, it was the way he predicted them ahead of time. Defenders heard it coming and still found themselves powerless to stop it. Major League quickly realized something important. Guarding Larry Bird was never simple. It demanded perfect timing, constant awareness, and nerves of steel. And even then, Bird often had the upper hand. Next comes Byron Scott, a fast, experienced guard who had faced plenty of elite competition throughout his career. Yet even Scott witnessed moments where Bird's presence completely shifted the balance of the game. During one matchup, Bird began targeting Scott's teammate John Hensley, who had been assigned to guard him. Instead of quietly attacking the matchup, Bird calmly made his opinion known. No yelling, no dramatic gestures, just a direct comment about the assignment. The moment caught everyone off guard, including Scott. It showed how comfortable Bird was controlling the situation. He did not wait for the defense to dictate terms. He pushed the game in the direction he wanted. That was the real secret behind Bird's trash talk. It was never about constant insults or loud confrontations. Bird relied on timing, awareness, and subtle psychological pressure to shape the flow of the game. His influence went far beyond the ball itself. Defenders reacted to him. Coaches adjusted because of him. Entire defensive strategies shifted because Bird was on the floor. That quiet authority made every possession uncomfortable for the opposition. Kenny Smith experienced another unforgettable moment that showed just how sharp Bird could be under pressure. Smith had seen plenty of clutch situations during his career, but this particular play stayed with him. The score was tight. Only seconds remained. Bird caught the ball in the corner as the defense rushed toward him. Brad Daugherty closed out hard, trying to force a difficult shot and disrupt the rhythm.
Down one, Larry Bird catches the ball in a deep corner, and he steps back for a three. And before he takes the three, he's like, oh, wow, he's going for the win. He's not going for the tie. And so Brad Daugherty runs out, and he head fakes him. And as he head fakes him, now it's 3-2, he hits him on the butt with the ball. And then he shoots it at the buzzer. And the confidence that hit him on the butt as he flew by him trying to block a shot, I'm like, there's no more confidence.
What we were trying.
You were trying to.
You know, but when a guy is literally coming up the court, calling his shots, and, you know, Bird talked a lot of trash.
And that's in New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans. In that game, we're on the free throw line, and he literally says, left side across the three, and you're listening to him. That's a tough feeling.
But Bird stayed completely calm. He gave a smooth pump fake that sent Daugherty flying past him. In that tiny moment of space, Bird did something almost unbelievable. As Daugherty moved by, Bird casually tapped the ball against him, almost like he was saying, "You thought." Then Bird reset, rose into the shot, and finished the play the way he always seemed to. Pure control. What stunned everyone was not just the basket itself. It was Bird's composure. In the middle of a high-pressure moment, he still had time to send a message without even speaking a word. Moments like that showed why Bird's presence on the court went far beyond scoring. His timing, his confidence, his awareness, all of it worked together to create constant pressure on defenders. When Larry Bird had the ball, the situation always felt like it belonged to him. Even Charles Barkley, one of the most fearless competitors in NBA history, had stories about Bird's mental games. Barkley built his career on toughness and bold personality. Very few players intimidated him, but Bird had his own way of getting into someone's head. During one intense matchup, Bird focused his attention on Julius Erving. As the game unfolded, Bird began directing comments toward Barkley, telling him to get Dr. J away from the matchup. He claimed Erving could not keep up anymore. And while the comments continued, Bird kept delivering on the court, shot after shot, possession after possession. The combination of verbal pressure and flawless execution began to wear on the situation. Eventually, Erving confronted Bird directly. It showed something important. Bird did not hold back against anyone, not rookies, not veterans, not legends. He controlled the pace, manipulated matchups, and forced opponents to react to him. Even players with massive reputations felt the pressure when Bird was locked in. Doc Rivers experienced another moment that perfectly captured Bird's confidence. Rivers was a promising guard who had already faced many of the league's biggest stars, but Bird left a different impression. During one game, Bird began explaining the play before it even happened. Calm voice, clear details. He walked Rivers through the entire sequence. Where the ball would go, what move would come next. There was no rush in his voice, no hesitation. Bird wanted Rivers to understand something very clearly. The plan was already decided. All that remained was the execution. The experience felt surreal for anyone standing across from him. Larry Bird never needed to shout or make a scene. He did not wave his arms or try to perform for the crowd. Every word he used had a purpose. Every sentence carried weight. Bird spoke calmly, but those calm words built pressure. One sentence would land, then the next moment on the court would prove it right. Defenders could feel the tension growing with every possession. Even a veteran like Doc Rivers admitted the feeling was strange. Watching a player calmly explain the play right in front of the defender was one of the coldest forms of trash talk imaginable. It was ruthless, precise, and almost impossible to respond to. And somehow Larry Bird made it look effortless. His trash talk was never random noise. It came with perfect timing and complete control. Every glance across the court meant something. Every comment had a reason behind it. Bird understood something most players never fully grasped. Sometimes silence creates more pressure than endless talking. Sometimes one quiet sentence hits harder than a long argument. Opponents never quite knew how to react. Should they ignore him? Should they talk back? Should they focus on defending the play? That hesitation was exactly what Bird wanted. Because by the time defenders processed what he said, the possession was usually already finished. The shot had already fallen. The play had already unfolded just the way Bird predicted. His presence alone changed the rhythm of the game. Bird forced defenders into decisions they did not want to make. He created pressure without ever raising his voice. Every movement on the floor became part of a bigger mental challenge. A pump fake here, a quick pass there, a shot from a spot he had already pointed to. Everything was calculated to keep opponents slightly off balance. Just enough hesitation to give Bird the edge. That psychological control amplified everything he did on the court. Every point felt heavier. Every play felt sharper. Every possession carried the sense that Bird already knew how it would end. Because in many ways, he did. Larry Bird's greatest weapon was not only his shooting, his passing, or his footwork, it was his control over the mental side of the game. He turned preparation into an advantage. He turned anticipation into certainty, and he turned confidence into quiet intimidation. Bird was not simply playing basketball like everyone else on the floor. He was dictating the pace, the pressure, and the outcome. He owned the possession. He owned the play, and many nights it felt like he owned the entire game. That mastery of focus, timing, and psychological control is exactly why players still talk about him today. Because when it came to trash talk mixed with execution, Larry Bird was operating on a completely different level.